Welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast, strategies that help entrepreneurs build reputable and profitable brands. Here's your host, Henry Kaminski Jr.
All right, we are live, my friends. What's going on, everyone? Let me just do a quick little share here. And we are going to get this party started. Group. All right. What's going on, everyone? Happy Wednesday. It is another Brand Doctor Podcast episode with yours truly. I have an amazing guest today on the show. He is a mutual friend of one of my influencer buddies on Instagram, Steve Snyder. He's actually going to be on the show tomorrow. And he has a phenomenal story. And I cannot wait to sort of unpack this and share it with you guys. And basically, it's a tale from athlete to entrepreneur. So welcome, everybody, to the show, Eric King. What's going on, Eric?
Hey, guys. Hey, Henry. Thanks for having me.
Dude, so for those of everyone listening that do not know who Eric King is and his backstory on how he went from athlete to entrepreneur, it's pretty unique, and I cannot wait to hear more about it. So for those that don't know who you are, I want to know, because I'm a brander. I'm that guy who wants to know the backstory of everything, which annoys the hell out of my wife. Why did you create this brand in the first place?
Yeah, for me, I created the brand, and like you mentioned, athlete to entrepreneur kind of was fitting for me because that's really all I knew growing up was playing athletics, being involved in team sports, competing and really just having a focus and determination as an athlete to really just take my skill set and also throughout the course of my career, my really just my overall skills and willingness to really want to compete at the highest level really as far as I could go in sports. So the whole path for me started as an athlete growing up. I played collegiate sports. I played professional sports as well in baseball. And, once my, time was up there and I kind of knew it was the end of the road for me, I transitioned into entrepreneurship. And the big reason for me, there's a lot of motivations, friends, family. The first sticking point that I saw was just in my experiences playing sports in my life, I felt there was a lot of similarities and commonalities between athletes and business owners and entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that is just really, having that focus, that determination, motivation, the drive, really the willingness to go above and beyond what most people are willing to do. And for me in my journey, it was just kind of a natural, seamless transition for me because, again, there was a lot of things that I found similar in work ethic and organization and really that team that I wanted to carry over as a business owner and entrepreneur. And that's really, at a 30,000 foot level, kind of where I'm at today.
That's awesome. So talk to me about how you're serving your audience and what it is that you specifically provide that helps, who is your target audience, first of all?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I would say my target audience is, somebody male or female like myself, could be, between, 20s, 30s, 40 range, working professionals, people that are, in full-time, corporate jobs, because I've been in, technology as well for 10 years. But my brand is really focused on business and motivation. So it's a combination of the two, sharing, techniques, strategies around business, how to scale and grow your own business, but also to help motivate people, because we all know that, like anything else, every day we have ups and downs, there's highs and lows, success and failing. So I try to be consistent with, my audience to really drive motivation and also business content that can provide value for them. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what are some of those what are some of those things that most entrepreneurs are struggling with that you have correlated with basically being an athlete? What are some of those things that most entrepreneurs are struggling with today that you see they need the most help with?
Right. No, that's a great question. I think, really just to name maybe a few, from my own experiences again, is I think just really staying, focused and really having that, just narrow vision. Don't let things, distractions outside of what you're doing really influence your business, your life. And I feel like, a lot of people get to the point where, we have anxiety and we have stress as entrepreneurs and business owners that aren't common in, your everyday lives or in most people's lives. So even for me, going back to playing athletics, high pressure, high demand situations all the time, you're expected a lot. And I feel like as an entrepreneur, a lot of people, if they really are, driven and motivated in their business, in their craft and wanting to help others, there is a certain amount of anxiety and pressure that comes with that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people need to learn to overcome. And I think one of the best ways to do it is to have a strong team around you, great mentors, and really leverage them because, again, not every day is going to be great. And I feel like the anxiety side and the stress and the pressure to, be able to perform in your own business and help other people is really one of the biggest challenges because it's not just about you, it's about helping other people as well. And when you have responsibility for other people and really are devoted and dedicated to helping them, then you just have that added weight on your shoulders. So I would say really being able to manage the stress and the anxiety and the pressure is what most entrepreneurs, I think, struggle with.
And staying focused, as you mentioned. I mean, a lot of times when I'm onboarding clients and I'm doing sort of an onboard with them, the biggest thing I said, why did you hire me in the first place? It's you can hire anybody to get a logo design or a website design, and they said we want your time because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm doing 1,000 things at once. I have 1,000 ideas going on in my head all at once, and I don't know which one to focus on first. So for you to be aware of this, and know that, listen, this is some of the stuff that they struggle with. I think the best way to become an effective service provider is to understand the weaknesses, understand the pains, the struggles of who it is that you're trying to serve. So for you to have that clarity is key, and to share that clarity with your audience is awesome. Now, I have another question. When I think sports, when I think athletes, I think of high intensity, like competition. And I feel like and I could be wrong here, but the LeBrons and the Tom Brady's of the world, they have this like kill or be killed mentality of when it comes to competition. And I'll be honest with you, like I have a competitive edge, but like I'm not that competitive. Like I feel like, so my question to you is, how does competition and having a healthy dose of it play when it comes to, building your entrepreneurial career?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, and again, I think you made some good examples there, but I think I can, again, relate it back to playing sports and playing at a high level and also being an entrepreneur. I think the biggest thing is most people are really competing. If you're a top athlete and you're a focused business owner and entrepreneur, your competition is more of yourself. So you have the highest expectations on who you are, even over who you work with. Now, again, you have team members. It could be in sports. It could be in business. It could be, people you work with as an entrepreneur. You have expectations of them as well, and you want to drive them and motivate them. And that's part of being a good leader, a good coach, good management skills. But at the end of the day, I think what drives most people to have that success, or like you said, kind of that burning desire that, kill or be killed type mentality. I think it's more than anything, it is a combination of motivation and determination, but also you have such high expectations for yourself that it's not necessarily you're competing with other people, you're competing with yourself because you know more than anybody what to expect. And some people have, more motivation, they have more desire and drive, and some people have less, and that's fine. But that's definitely something I think that correlates with athletes, business owners, and entrepreneurs. It's just you have high expectations on yourself, and that kind of takes me back to, again, the stress, the anxiety of always wanting to do more and not being complacent with what you're doing.
Awesome. I love that. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because the biggest competition here is not with the guy next door or down the street or the guy that, or the guy or gal, that is running a similar business to you. I truly believe, and I agree wholeheartedly, that your biggest competition as an entrepreneur is yourself. And I want people to understand that. Don't try to outbeat your competition. Try to outbeat yourself, because what's going to happen there is you're going to go so hard on yourself that the competition isn't even going to know what to do with you, because you've just blown them away. And so I just wanted to point that out. Now, as a high-performing athlete yourself, I love to get into the minds of you guys. And, when you're standing on the plate and it's the last inning and the bases are loaded, the bases are loaded, the score's tied, and that anxiety and that pressure and all of that is ready to blow the top off of you, I want to know how Eric King dealt with those situations. And I want to know step by step how you dealt with that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And to answer that real quickly too, you don't deal with it, because it is something that, again, it all relate to both, but athletics, entrepreneur, business owner, you should, if you're passionate and determined, you should be nervous. You should have the anxiety. You should have the stress. And when I played sports, it was always the case. There wasn't a game that went by, no matter if it was a top opponent, a weaker opponent, where you're not nervous before you get started. And I think the biggest thing for that in, athletics, business owners, entrepreneurs, is to really focus on, you're going to have those jitters and you're going to have, those butterflies and be nervous, but you have to trust in yourself. And it's going back to, determination, the motivation, the hard work, the hours you're putting in outside of what people are seeing is ultimately what is going to help you in those pressure situations, because you can't make those nerves go away, but you can put yourself in the best position to be successful. So when it is the bottom of the ninth and you're coming to bat, you're walking up there, or I'm walking up there, and I'm a little bit nervous, but once you step into the plate, instinct and reaction takes over, and from that point on, the nerves, they're gone. And it's the same thing, with business owners. Maybe you're looking to invest in something, or you have to make a big decision or take action on something quickly, which a lot of people aren't willing to do. You have to trust your gut and just trust your instincts and trust yourself more than anything else. But again, the stress, the anxiety will never go away. It's just different ways of channeling it and being able to manage it really in any type of situation.
I love it. So it's almost like you get in the zone, the quote unquote zone. And exactly. Like everything gets quiet and you just go. And so I never understood, where those athletes take themselves, in those situations. And this kind of helps me understand like where you take, how you've dealt with that. And so it's almost like you just separate it. You just pull it out. Like it's not even there. It doesn't even exist.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Once you get in, that zone kind of past the initial butterflies, because a lot of it is really overthinking early on. You're before a game and you're thinking too much about the competition, or, if I don't get a couple hits today, or if I don't do this, then, I'm going to let my team down, let myself down. Same in business. So there's a lot of overthinking and overanalyzing that goes on before. But once again, through your practice and repetition of what you do, in your life and your job, your career, it takes over if you're consistent and repetitive at it. And it's just like, the muscle memory and the mindset and the focus. You just have to be able to, channel your emotions and really kind of reprogram yourself physically, emotionally, mentally for those type of situations. And I think that ultimately separates the people that do, really well versus the ones that might do average.
I love it. Eric, you're dropping bombs. I love it. I love it. So let me ask you this question. I ask all my guests this because it really evokes a lot of emotion out of them. And we know branding is all about emotion. And so, what is the biggest pet peeve in your industry right now that you see that just grinds you up, like fires you up, and you're like on a mission?
Yeah, where do I start? No, I think the biggest one that comes to mind and the most common, at least in what I do, is there's a lot of people out there that overpromise and underdeliver. They they're people that aren't transparent and honest. They kind of show you what the flashiness of what you can have and what you can do and how you can be successful, but they're not really, pulling back kind of the covers or the veil and showing you what goes on behind the scenes and how you should really be successful and what type of, commitment goes into it and what type of focus and the energy you have to put in. I just think there's too many people that are out there today that are, just throwing things out there left and right. And, you don't have to work at all to be successful and you can just travel and, sit on your laptop. And it really couldn't be any further from the truth, because maybe one day you'll get to that point through, the struggles and the highs and the lows. But when you first get started, or you're looking to kind of have that breakthrough in your business or as an entrepreneur or even an athlete, you have to go through that grind and that struggle to get there. So I think my biggest, again, pet peeve is just people that, for lack of a better term, are misleading. They're not honest or not transparent with businesses and what they provide and, services, training, whatever it might be. And what ends up happening normally is you let people down, and then people turn around and think that, your business or you lack character, the business doesn't work, you're misleading them. And I think really it's just being, honest and transparent up front of what you need to do to have success. It's like, for me with an athlete, I'm not going to tell him just, show up game day and you're going to be fine. It's going to be, the workouts, the late workouts, coming in and, in my situation, taking ground balls or taking extra batting practice when nobody's around on the weekends, the holidays. It's just, you're going to have to do that no matter what. And that's, for me personally, what I see is the biggest, pet peeve or challenge that I've seen in my kind of marketplace.
Well, you're not alone. There's plenty of us out there that totally agree with what you're saying. I think social media has become a crowd, loud, noisy place, and everyone's out there trying to scream louder than the next person. They go out and they buy a course, and then before they even actually do anything that the course actually taught them, they're out there trying to sell that idea and sell that, opportunity, and it's just a big, crock of shit. They have no legs to stand on. They have no experience, and I always say, consider the source, when you're out there, hiring experts and gurus and these types of people, do your homework before you go and spend a few grand on somebody, because, these people are just throwing out these arbitrary numbers because it feels like in the internet marketing space, like everything's expensive compared to everything else, right? So like if everybody else is selling it for $1,000, I could sell it for $1,000, even though I have zero experience, and
right.
that's not how it works, And so, for those of you guys listening, like when you're out there trying to hire somebody to help you do something that you're not good at, you better do your homework on these people. Ask them, can I see some case study? Can you show me, can you point me to a YouTube channel where I could see some of the behind the scenes stuff, And if they have nothing to show for you and they give you some roundabout salesy type of response, you better think twice and you better listen to your gut. And, I could talk about this, Eric, for hours on how there's so many, fakers out there. And it's like you peel back the onion and you really find out that they're hacks. And I never ever, I love Russell Brunson to death, but I never resonated with that word hacker, because where I come from, if you're a hacker, you're going to wind up in a trunk somewhere. It's not a good word around these parts. So,
yeah.
I want to work with somebody who's been there, got the T-shirt, walked 4 chapters ahead of me, and that could, guide me in the right direction. So let me ask you a question. What does 2018 look like for athlete to entrepreneur, Eric King, and what are some of the goals that you're focusing in on this year to take this brand to the next level?
Yeah, well, I think, again, you can never get complacent. You have to continue to work on yourself. So the way that I look at it with not just my brand but my business is, leveraging other people who are skilled or have expertise in areas that I may or may not have. And that's another thing kind of going into, my own background is I know for a fact that I'm not good at everything. There's certain things that I feel like I'm really good at, but to take my business to the next level and help my team get to the next level, you really have to leverage other people who have that expertise and have that experience and just build a strong team around you. Again, it's just like sports, just like business. It's about teams and having that chemistry, but also understanding where you're strong at, focus on your strengths and areas that you might need help in. Don't be concerned or don't, be worried to ask people for help or, ask people for advice. And for me, in building my brand, that's really why I'm working with other people as well who have the experience, who have, again, gotten results, because I think, like you mentioned, outside of just being able to work with people who, you trust and people who you feel can kind of take you to the next level, results are the next most important thing. And I look for people that are, good at what they do or great at what they do, but they're also getting results for themselves and for other people as well. So for me, it's just, continue to build my brand and just surround myself with, really great people, this year, both from a brand standpoint and also from, my business standpoint as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how long have you been in business?
So for me, I've been online and as an entrepreneur for about 5 years now. I have a background in sales and technology, hardware, software as well. But in this particular marketplace, about 5 years now. But I've been working for the last 10, 12 years, and before that playing sports. So yeah, it's just been a great ride. And, for me, great example is I'm just now building my brand more so on social media as well through, Instagram and Facebook. I took a break from Facebook for about 9 months and they punished me because now I don't think anybody sees anything I post. But again, you learn and you move on, but it's just about, building my network and my brand and, just continue to grow and never get complacent with where you're at in your business and your life and, continue to have that drive and motivation. And if you need other people to help you get there, then make sure, you surround yourself with those people.
Let me ask you another question. I said I would only ask you 2 questions offline, and I was like, I'm just blazing you with questions left and right. But let me tell you something. You're a champ because you're smacking them out of the park, the answers. So good for you. Because sometimes
no pun intended, right?
Sometimes my questions are a little bit difficult to answer. So when you're out there, I always like to know, how do you choose who to work with? Like, how does Eric King, when he's out there trying to find somebody that can help him do X, Y, Z, how do you come to the decision that I'm going with Steven Snyder, who is an awesome guy, by the way, on Instagram and helped me tremendously build my brand on Instagram. So that's the question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you actually answered part of that indirectly earlier. It's almost like a job. You have your your kind of your resume that you're looking for, or their resume, and they're not sending you a paper copy of their experience, but it's doing research, it's doing homework, speaking, or reaching out to people that they've worked with, and then ultimately having that conversation once it kind of passed those guidelines of doing the research and the background sounds good, and they're getting people results. Then when you have a conversation with them, it also comes down to how you kind of gel and how you interact with them as well, because like you mentioned, there's a lot of people that can do certain things, but more importantly than that is for you to find somebody who you want to work with and who you could see yourself working with and having success with. So if it's in Facebook or Instagram, or like you mentioned, brand and logo and brand awareness, there's a lot of people that do that, but it's really up to you to do your homework and your research and find somebody you feel good about working with. And Steve's a great example. And, there's a lot, but I definitely do, my fair share of research just to make sure that, I'm working with the right person, because it has to be a good fit on both sides for yourself and for the person that you're working with.
Oh man, you just hit the nail on the head there. And I was going to go there. And I'm glad you just took the words right out of my mouth. So the one thing that a lot of people ask me, because my team now I've had for the past 2 years, I've never had to fire anybody that's currently on my team right now. And people ask me, like, how do you have that loyalty? Like, how do you have that rapport with your team? And I said, it's aligning my values with theirs right from the gate. So when I'm sitting with them and I'm interviewing them, on Skype or whatever, it is crucial that I ask those questions and make sure that their values align with mine, because that's how you're going to get that long-term relationship started. If right. I rely heavily and I value quick turnaround time, and this particular person doesn't, that I'm about to hire, we got a big problem there. You know what I mean? Right. And it's only going to get worse. And it's not their problem per se. It's yours, because you're hiring them. And if your gut tells you that they're going to be slow and they're not going to be able to get things done on time, then you're putting yourself in a situation. So I like to see, I love when I see people blaming, right, everybody else, but they forget that they had the decision and they had to make a choice. They forget. Right. Like, I had a terrible – I'll tell you a quick story. I had a terrible experience. I hired this social media content strategist a couple years ago. It's going on 3 years at this point now. It's so gone. But it left a gaping hole in my trust. And they said that they were going to do X, Y, Z and help me do this and help me do that. And I had to sign a 3-month contract, and they did absolutely squat for me in those 90 days. I didn't blame her. I said, you know what? Thank you very much. When she asked me to renew the contract, I said, no, thank you. She asked why. I said, show me results. There wasn't any. And I said, I didn't blame her. Listen, I hired you. You. So I got to blame myself. So what happened? So let me share this with my audience. What happened? Guess what, guys? I didn't ask the right questions up front. I didn't. And that's what got me into that pickle. That's what got me into that situation. So guess what? $3,000. Listen, I'll never get it back, but lesson learned. Ask the right questions, get the right answers, and then choose your team wisely. And
absolutely.
That's the key. And then the other thing you mentioned that I really want to point out, and with the sales background that you have, I think this is very, very important, that you make sure that the person that you're hiring, right, is a good fit for you, and them to be a good fit, and for you to be a good fit for them. I feel like when you're selling something, you immediately get this feeling like the control is out of your hands and the person buying has all the control. Right. And one of the biggest things that I've learned through my mentor and I read an awesome book the other day. It's called Win Without Pitching by, what's his name? Blair Enns. Go check that book out if you haven't yet. What a phenomenal book. But, he says it's got to be a good fit for you, even though you're the one that's selling. So, to position yourself that way, that's going to be a win-win on both sides. And so don't give away all that control, that confidence, because you feel like you're the one that's like selling, the service or the product or the position to work with you. You know what I mean? It's got to work both ways, because you wind up spending a shit ton of time with these people once you bring them on board, and you got to enjoy it. Otherwise, the output is just going to be crap.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I think at the end of the day, you have to learn sometimes to just let, even though you're trying to build a business, let some people go, because like you said, a great point, after they come on board, they're part of your team and they reflect you as well. And if you bring on people that even early on that it might not be a good fit, and you just do it anyways because maybe again you're anxious, you want to get you're wanting to bring on somebody new or whatever, make commissions, whatever it might be with your business, you have to understand that it goes past that, and then you have to see on a daily basis what they would be like and what's it going to be like working with them. So that's part of kind of the qualification, and really just going through and kind of that consultative approach to understand after this they might be willing to join you, but after this, how are they going to be? Because again, you want them to get results as well, but you have to put them in a position, and it just, like you said, has to be a good fit on both sides.
Yeah, you put your crew, you put your staff, you put the player, in the right position, and they're going to score.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. And one of my old mentors, he said, I forget it was something along the lines. Oh, here it is. Business is a team sport.
100%.
Business is a team sport. There's no way in hell you're going to be able to get to where you want to be by yourself. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. No,
it just doesn't happen. I was watching, Evan Carmichael on YouTube. He puts together these top 10s of like all these famous people, and it's a great YouTube channel. Go check it out. It's called Evan Carmichael Believe. You have to go. He was just on the show a couple of weeks ago, but he did a little thing on LeBron James, and LeBron James was accepting an award, and he said, I appreciate this trophy and this plaque and this award, but it really means nothing to me. And I was like, oh, did he really say that? Without those guys that are sitting over there, and there was the Olympic basketball team behind him, and he said, I would much rather be sitting over there with them. And I was like, that's why you're LeBron. That's it. So yeah. I think we're going to close on that. How about that?
That's awesome. That's great.
So real quick, Eric, for those out there listening that want to learn more about Athlete to Entrepreneur and the brand behind it all, where can they find you?
I'm probably most active on Instagram right now. So my account or my handle is athlete_2. That's just the number 2 _entrepreneur. But that's where, I'm focusing most of my attention on and building my brand there, working with guys like you said, like Steve. And that's, where I'm going to be most active for a while now. So yeah, I'm really trying to focus on that moving forward.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, there you have it, guys. I'm going to finish this up real quick with a little housekeeping stuff. If you haven't joined the Brand Doctors Podcast Facebook group, go to Facebook right now. Go into the search query, type in Brand Doctors Hangout. Come join the gang. There's about 350 of us right now, all inside that group, helping each other build each other's brand. If you haven't subscribed to this iTunes podcast channel yet, please do. Share it with a friend or colleague if you find it valuable. I truly, truly appreciate your viewership and your listenership and all the support that you've given me. This is actually my 100th episode on the show. And Eric, thank you for being my 100th episode.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I didn't realize the milestone.
Yeah, and I thank you. And I appreciate all that you've given today, as far as value and your time and the clarity and the focus that all entrepreneurs should have when they're building their business. So have an awesome day, guys, and I will catch you on the next episode.
See you guys.
You've been listening to the Brand Doctor Podcast with Henry Kaminski Jr. To get your appointment with the doctor, visit Brand Audit at www.uniquedesignz.net.